Welcome to Ottawa, where failure is rewarded with your tax dollars.
Hi there, and welcome to Canadian Freedom. Right? On this day, the writ has dropped, and we're finally getting an election. Now, I've been a little bit absent lately when it comes to posting videos, mostly because of the frustration I've had with, the whole, proroguing of Parliament, just so the Liberal Party could figure out who they wanted to install as their next leader, which they did install Mark Carney, the guy that hasn't lived in Canada in at least a decade, and who 5 days after Trump was elected moved his company as the chair to New York City. And this is the guy who says he's going to fight for Canada. Between that and this anti-American rhetoric, it's been too frustrating. But now we can focus on the election. And today, the opening clip there, Franco Terrazzano, he's the president or the head of the Canadian Taxpayer Federation. Great organization, funded by citizens. They look at where our tax dollars go. They break it all down through the Freedom of Information Act and call out corruption, misuse, what we spend our money on, and what the government decides to spend our money on. So great organization. I'll leave a link below if you want to check them out. But yeah, we're going to take a look at today. Just something to consider. If you think that this Liberal government's fourth term would be a good thing for Canada, the way they waste our money, at a time when cost of living has skyrocketed, housing has skyrocketed, immigration has skyrocketed, the military has been decimated, our veterans are struggling, everything is going the wrong direction in this country, and somehow the man who has been the economic advisor to the previous Trudeau government says he's going to change things for the better, is almost unbelievable, especially looking at some of these what I think are nonsense polls lately. But anyway, let's get into the clip. Let's hear what Franco has to tell us today.
Welcome to Ottawa, where failure is rewarded with your tax dollars. The Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation dished out $30 million in bonuses in 2024. The government's housing agency dished out $132 million in bonuses since the beginning of 2020, when Canadians were struggling with a housing affordability crisis. Must be nice. 12 CMHC executives took home $1 million in bonuses last year. So the average bonus for those CMHC executives was $83,000. That's more than what the average Canadian worker makes in an entire year. Now, here's the thing. The CMHC has repeatedly said that it's driven by one goal over others: housing affordability for all. And the CMHC is clearly failing at that goal. RBC says that it's the toughest time ever to afford a home in Canada. So why are the government's housing agency bureaucrats showering themselves with taxpayer-funded bonuses while Canadians can't afford homes?
I think it's clear that this party, the Liberal Party, has become the most corrupt party. Whether it's the Green Slush Fund, that they wouldn't hand over documents. They were not going to hand those documents over. No way in heck, because of the corruption. And how many people probably got rich in that? And we've seen it with the Indigenous funds all across the board. It's a corrupt government. They're in it to win it for themselves. Let's hear more.
But here's the thing. The federal government has a long history of rewarding failure with taxpayer-funded bonuses. The federal government has rubber-stamped $1.5 billion in bonuses since 2015, despite the fact that federal departments can barely meet half of their own performance targets. And here's a doozy. Do you folks remember Arrive Scam? It was a simple government app that initially cost $80,000, and then the bill ballooned to $60 million. Well, the government executives who were working on the Arrive Scam boondoggle rewarded themselves with $340,000 in taxpayer-funded bonuses. Then there's the Bank of Canada. The Bank of Canada has one job: keep inflation low and around 2%. Well, in 2022, inflation reached a 40-year high. The Bank of Canada hiked up interest rates 7 times. Clearly, the Bank of Canada failed to do its one and only job. Yet the Bank of Canada printed up $20 million in bonus checks. Then there's everybody's favorite state broadcaster, the CBC. Well, the CBC dished out about $18 million in bonuses in 2024. Going back to 2015, the CBC's bonuses have cost taxpayers about $130 million.
That's crazy. First off, the CBC, there's a thing called free press. Press should be free to report on whatever it wants and not have to worry about who funds them. Now they're fighting, the conservatives saying they'll defund the CBC. It shouldn't be given all that money. $1.2 billion. Mark Carney's talking about doubling that. I wonder why. I wonder how they'll report on him during this election. It's absolutely, ridiculous. And the CMHC, a government-run headed organization, is there to keep housing prices in line. We've seen this huge skyrocket. For them to give out all these bonuses, use up our tax dollars for bonuses. I mean, this is craziness. Absolute craziness. I don't know. Let's see what else we have to say here.
And on it goes, folks. Department after department, Crown Corporation after Crown Corporation. Everywhere you look in Ottawa, the story is the same. The government rewards failure with taxpayer-funded bonuses. And of course, you pay for it all.
The Arrive scam one is crazy. During that world event in Canada, we had to have the pass for traveling. The app never worked. Two guys built it in their basement in a weekend and said they could have done it for 10 grand. Somehow we ended up giving two other guys who did nothing tens of millions of dollars to find somebody else to make the app that never worked, and ended up ballooning to a minimum of 60 million. I have another video. If you go through my videos, you can see that. Northern Perspective, another highly recommended channel. If you're not already subscribed or have checked them out, they do a great bunch of videos on the whole Arrive scam fiasco. But again, the Canadian Taxpayer Federation does a great job. Very independent. They're basically like Canada's Doge without the power to get rid of corruption, but they're good at calling it out. So kudos to them for doing their job here and showing Canadians, how badly our tax dollars are intertwined with the corruption over the last 10 years. I remember the one story they brought out, $8 million for a shed the government spent. That was just one thing. It's unbelievable what they do with our money. While 20% of the country is using the food bank. The military is completely decimated, and they just throw money around without any protection, any oversight. It's unbelievable. And the fact that people think that just because Mark Carney is coming in, that's going to change. There's no way in heck. He is like Trudeau 2.0 on steroids. He's a climate zealot. If you read his book, he talks about how we need to pay even more in carbon tax. Now, he's pulled it back during the election to zero. He hasn't gotten rid of the law or the actual tax. He's just pulled it to zero. He's talking about a carbon levy on imports. So anything coming into the country is going to have a carbon levy, which is a tax. Also, big polluters, so steel companies, gas, all these other people that are companies that emit CO2 are going to have this high tax, which gets passed down. The steel companies, I feel bad as someone who grew up in East Hamilton and seeing what the steel industry has gone through in Canada. I mean, it's a skeleton of what it used to be. And he says, well, we don't use steel anymore. Actually, here, let's listen to that clip.
We're going to do is make sure not that the government pays, not that we as taxpayers pay, but the large polluters pay. And so what happens?
But does that not ultimately trickle down?
No, because what the big companies are producing, by and large, are not products that we are consuming. There's some element of that, but by and large, a steel company. How much steel are you using these days, Todd?
So there you have it. No one using steel. So buildings, cars, appliances, dishware, cutlery, on and on and on contain steel. The fact that an economist says no, taxing these big manufacturing companies won't trickle down is either totally incompetent or he's lying. So I know which way I'm going to be voting. I'm going to be voting for change. I just think we should take a very close look at and remember what's gone on over the last 9.5 years in Canada and make a really informed decision, and don't base it on some silly commercial where someone's dressed in a Team Canada jersey talking to Mike Myers. Just because you do that doesn't mean you're going to be a good leader. In closing, another thing to remember, I'm going to display the last 10 years of, our GDP growth compared to other countries. It's pretty eye-opening. Thanks for joining. Please make sure we're voting and stay tuned for the next video. Again, I'm just a small channel, so every like, comment, share, turn on that notification bell, and it really helps me out. I don't get paid to do this. I fit this in where I can. I have a full-time job. I own a business. I have 3 teenage boys, so I'm a busy guy. So thanks for taking the time. Take care, and let's bring some real change to Canada and get back what we used to have. Thanks again. Take care.